We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. In the vice presidential debate, Tim Walz criticized J.D. Vance's vagueness on healthcare, childcare, abortion, and immigration, while Vance deflected on key issues. What are the key LGBTQ takeaways?
Trump sparked controversy with unverified claims about transgender school programs. He has faced criticism from educators, medical experts, and even some conservative allies.
Homonormativity prioritizes certain queer identities, ultimately shaping social norms, media, and policies, fostering division within the LGBTQ community.
Sean Combs is arrested on sex trafficking charges with over 120 victims, including minors. Men are included in the list of accusers.
The 2024 Time 100 Next list celebrates influential LGBTQ icons, creatives, and leaders, shaping a more inclusive and diverse cultural landscape.
Good evening. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels. We are proud to announce that YouTube has recognized Queer News Tonight, certified by analytics company vidIQ, that we now have more than 9.5 million views. More than 500,000 of you have watched this show in the last 60 days. Thank you. It is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ evening news show. Whatever happens, unique in the queer news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the queer community. Our mission is to support the 11 pillars of LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2024, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the queer and broader community.
Let's meet tonight's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome Vaughn Biggs, a trailblazing advocate for health equity and HIV treatment. As community outreach coordinator at Holy Cross Health, he leads initiatives for the LGBTQ+ community and people living with HIV. His roles as vice chair of the Ryan White Part A Planning Council and founding board member of TransEd underscore his dedication to inclusivity and systematic change. Vaughn, Ageism Awareness Day is on October 9th. Tell me, what's happening, brother?
Well, we have a lot of awareness days, right? And without the calendar. But this is a really important one that's coming up on October 9th, because if you think about it, 1 in 2 people actually have a bias against aging individuals. And that's a worldwide number. So I think this is interesting because I like statistics. So the studies have shown people that have a very positive perception about themselves will live almost 7.5 years longer than those who do not. Wow. And that's a major impact when we're looking at a very aging society, especially with people living with HIV. By 2030, they're estimating more than 70% of people living with HIV will be older than 50. Wow. And so that's a large number. And it's a matter of, we see, especially in the LGBTQ community, we have a lot of seniors that don't come out anymore. They don't socialize like they used to. Yeah. So for me, it's like a call to action that we need to start making aware of those people that we're not seeing out in the community and getting them involved because they don't feel like they belong anymore. Right. And we see this specifically with people with any type of chronic illnesses. So it's just another awareness day, but obviously it has impact because it does affect your mental health. It affects your physical health, especially if you're staying isolated.
I love that you brought that up. I know SAGE has a program where they match are seasoned members of our community with younger individuals. And it's exactly this reason is a lot of them, isolate or they're, living out in the boonies here in Florida.
Right.
And so they matched them together to, just have a companion or a friend or a buddy or a person that they can connect with.
Right.
So thanks for bringing this up.
No
It's really important.
Really important.
Let's welcome Greg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBTQ Hall of Fame. Greg is the author of 2 short story collections and 7 books on poetry. He is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of print and online publications. Welcome, Greg.
I'm so glad to be here, and as the reigning senior at the table, let me just say thanks for not discriminating against me.
We love you. Welcome, anchor Paul Thomas. He is currently a member of the LGBTQ Advisory Committee to the City of Miami Beach, on the board of directors for the Point Foundation, and on the endorsement committee for SAVE. Welcome, Paul. What's happening?
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be up here again today. Haven't been on the panel with you guys in a while, and so it's just nice to be here. I'm happy to see everybody.
I think this is our first time together. So
Yeah, first time on this. This weekend, I'm really excited. This Sunday, we're having the Big Gay Brunch. It's actually Miami Shores Pride. This is going to be their fundraiser. The proceeds benefit Safe Schools, South Florida, which is Scott Galvin's nonprofit organization, and the Point Foundation, which I'm on the board of directors of the Point Foundation, for our scholars. So buy a ticket, come and join us. It's for more than a worthy cause, and it's also a lot of fun. The Miami Shores Country Club is a great spot to hang out for a couple of hours and to meet people in the community and get out of the house and socialize. And so, everybody come and join us.
what's the dress code?
The dress code is Miami Fabulous.
Okay. All right. I like it.
Okay, and of course, this is tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Edward Summers. He is the executive director of Pride Lines, Miami's LGBTQ community center. He served as a primary therapist and program director at iCare Treatment Center in West Palm Beach. He was also the founder and CEO of New York-based nonprofit, The Thinkubator. Welcome, Dr. Summers.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks. It's good to be here with all of you. I have 2 plugs. PRISM's Gala is this Saturday. So PRISM is another very important organization similar to Safe Schools. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to going. This is my first time. And then one plug that I'll plug every week that I'm here is the Joyride. The Joyride is the new Smart Ride. That's happening in November 22nd and 23rd. It's a ride from Miami to the Florida Keys. It's 165 miles. It's raising awareness and funds for HIV/AIDS prevention. And this year with the Joyride, we've actually made it a little bit more inclusive. So it's not just about HIV/AIDS. It's about all the issues and challenges that we face as the LGBTQ plus community, and raising awareness from everything from health issues to mental health to transgendered issues to safe space issues. And so the organizations I'm involved is Pride Lines, of course, but Miracle of Love up in Orlando. We have Broward House in Broward. We have Compass up in the Palm Beach area, and we have Epic as well. And so we have some great organizations that this will benefit. And this is the first year without Glenn Weisenheimer, who started the Smart Ride, that we'll be doing this ride. And we hope to expand this ride over the years, including more organizations that will be beneficiaries, and in different regions, different parts of Florida. So it's an exciting time. We are nearing our goal this year, which we didn't expect to meet our last year's expectations, but we're nearing our goal for this year already. So it's pretty exciting. Need a few more riders, a few more donors and crew, but it's going to be an exciting ride.
When is it?
It's November 22nd and 23rd. So join us for the Joyride. And if you need to visit the website, it's thejoyridefl.org. So we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBT community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. First, this evening, let's queer up politics. Top takeaways from the vice presidential debate, Walz versus Vance. The sole vice presidential debate between Democratic nominee Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Republican nominee U.S. Senator J.D. Vance took place on CBS this week. The key takeaway is that the debate didn't touch on LGBTQ issues. However, there were still notable moments. Here are the 5 key takeaways from the debate. When asked about January 6th insurrection, J.D. Vance deflected, saying he was, quote, focused on the future, unquote, and claiming Donald Trump encouraged peaceful protests despite Trump telling his supporters to fight like hell. Vance's refusal to directly address the attack and downplaying of the violence was challenged by Walz. The second takeaway was Vance's struggle to provide specifics on healthcare, referring to vague, quote, concepts of a plan, unquote, from Trump regarding the ACA. Walz mocked Vance's lack of detail, saying his, quote, concepts of a plan, quote, unquote, wouldn't cut it in his 4th grade classroom. Estimates show more than 3 million LGBTQ Americans are on Obamacare, so a significant reduction or loss of the program would have devastating effects on the queer community. The third takeaway was Vance's outdated view on childcare. He suggested that churches or neighbors handle childcare rather than federal programs. Walz countered this by supporting Kamala Harris's child tax credit proposal and advocating for paid family leave. The next takeaway was Vance's emphasis on his support for letting states decide abortion policy. Walz criticized this stance, pointing out that since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, women have died because they couldn't access abortions in their states. The last takeaway was how Vance frequently shifted blame to undocumented immigrants or illegal aliens for various issues from gun violence to the housing crisis. He claimed that an influx of undocumented immigrants caused housing shortages. Walz refuted these claims, arguing that speculators on Wall Street were a bigger factor in rising housing costs and pointed to a bipartisan immigration bill that Trump opposed for political reasons. The debate highlighted clear differences in policy and vision between the two candidates, with Walz consistently pushing for detailed plans and Vance remaining vague on the key issues. There will be no more debates before the election. The debate. Just on the general topic of the debate, I just felt like it wasn't as exciting as the Kamala Harris and Trump debate. I think that both candidates really toned down who they were. Walz, normally on a campaign trail is really exciting and really, just a lot of energy and, has a lot of great lines, attack lines. And I just felt like he was not himself into the end. I don't know who the hell J.D. Vance was. That's just not who he is. He was just a phony, a liar, during the debate. I do think on substance, Walz clearly his job there was to talk more about policy and to really dig deep into, the policy prescriptions of his campaign. I think Vance's goal was to just lie and to distort the truth and to say things that were just blatantly not facts, but he was slick. I think J.D. Vance was I hate to say this, was very likable. I hate to say it. Yeah. He was likable. If you don't pay attention to politics, you like the guy up there. Let's be real. I can be very honest about that. Like, you would like who he is. But if you paid attention to politics, if you knew facts, if you paid attention to anything that happened in this country, you would know that everything that he said was, pretty much like a crap lies. It was BS, right? This debate, I don't think was a defining moment in the campaign, but I do think that Walz went there. He did the job that he had to do. I liked when he got back to himself at the end, where he just called them out, on January 6th. I think that was the defining moment. I think that's where it completely turned a debate, right? Because to be honest, I'm going to be very fair. Vance was killing it, and J.D. and Walz kind of gave him a pass.
Well, you can't say killing it when somebody's just.
Well, he's lying. Right. He was killing it on style. He's not
killing it.
Right. No, he was on style.
Maybe you liked his style, but you have to remember that these guys, that you liked his style, but you have to remember that the vice presidential role is really very. It doesn't have a lot to do, right? And so when they're up there debating, it's very difficult to debate because you can't say my policy. Like Kamala and Trump, they could really talk a lot more. You're kind of relegated to you're speaking for the other person or you're speaking for the platform. You can't really say too much because you don't want to overshadow the other person. You can't say something that maybe they've had some other meeting you don't know about it. So it's weird to have a vice presidential debate. They've never been very interesting. They've never been like anything that really swayed an election. I think they pushed the issue really because Tim Walz wasn't well known nationally.
Right.
And so to get him in front of the cameras as much as possible, they figure, all right, let's go ahead and do this debate. I felt the same as you. I didn't really watch it because it's not for people like me. That debate was for people who were undecided. That debate was for people in rural America who don't have access to the New York Times and all this stuff. So I wasn't really planning. The little bit that I did watch, I thought the same thing, right? Walz was holding back and he was sticking to, but then I went, well, he has no choice because he's running for vice president. And there's not a lot you can say when you're the vice president. You can't actually say anything because everything is someone else's decision, right? And I wanted him to be coach, and I wanted him to, that I know I had in him. And then I went, but wait, but that's not his role. Like right now, he's running for vice president.
Well, I think he also
has to
said
stay
in
on the
advance
formula.
that he's not a great debater.
He's not a debater.
He came right out and said that. But as a frail elder, I don't have the stomach or the constitution to watch the debate debacles. Instead, I rely on the news the following day and delight in the resulting memes. My favorite was Liar, Liar, Vance on Fire, which is fitting because Vance is a flaming pile of excrement.
Well, he complained when he was fact-checked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On national
It's going to happen.
The rule was you're not supposed to. I mean, that's pretty bad.
That's pretty terrible to say. Who actually do not fact
On
check
national
on
TV.
national television?
When you're running for the second highest position in
Because
the
if anything
whole.
happens to the president, they're the next in line.
Can you imagine J.D. Vance?
Terrifying. Terrifying.
But you know,
Crazy.
like going back to the point of him being a liar. I mean, for those, and to your point too, Paul, for those who don't necessarily have access to popular media, to watch this, you would believe this guy. And so, and I do give the anchors, credit because they tried to do like the fact checking and stuff like that. But like, it's scary.
Yeah.
It is. But let's
Very
think about
scary.
this. It is very scary. The state of our politics, the fact that you can go have somebody who can go up there and be a straight shooter and just lie,
And just lie.
lie, and it's so scary for our vulnerable Americans who don't have this education.
Right. CBS had a QR code. If you watched on CBS, which I didn't, but you could use the QR code from home, and that QR code fact-checked J.D. Vance. So the moderators had agreed not to do it, except they caught him the one time, but they had agreed not to do it on TV. But they did have that. Now that, if people in rural America knew about the QR code, knew how to set it up, knew how to read the actual factual information, to me, that's a lot for them to go through to get to the truth. I think it should be a little bit easier to get the truth out there because you just let the man lie on national TV, right? It should be a little easier for people to get to the truth.
One thing I want to touch upon with all of you is there was five issues in the story, of course, but the one that's really important that for me, I went back and forth with this, but like our threat to democracy, to be honest with you, the fact that they still cannot accept the results of the previous election.
2020, right.
And the fact that, God forbid, who knows what's happening? We know a lot's happening behind the scene. Trump has said, that they're trying to subvert this next election again. What I'm scared about is another January 6th happening again.
And again,
it's very scary. And Vance, we already know, he's pretty much said it, that he won't do what Mike Pence did. He'll do the opposite.
Of course.
And so this is scary for our democracy, and it's a shame that we've come to this.
And it's scary for our community. The Harris Walz campaign has been out there a lot about the LGBTQ community. They're huge supporters. I think for our community and anybody watching this evening, with what you just said, it's a threat to democracy. Who do you think is going down first?
Right. And don't forget,
we're going down first. So all these gay people walking around talking about, I'm not interested in politics. You better get interested.
Get registered and vote.
Because your life is on the line here.
And don't
you
forget
better
about
vote
Project
the right way.
2025.
And you better vote blue because anything else
Your life
happens,
depends on it.
your whole life is going to change immediately. And we already live in a state where we don't have state protections. We already live in a state where the governor's attacking our community. We don't need the federal government to be able to attack our community on top of it.
And to your point about the ticket, in Kamala Harris's role as VP, I will say, from a Pride Lines perspective, we have had so much support from this administration.
Healthcare too.
Healthcare. No, we've
Huge amounts.
I literally have had direct talk
Yeah.
with her chief of staff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, in the administration, literally, like, we've had some concerns
Absolutely.
about some issues and some change of federal policies. Literally, her people are on the phone with us
Yeah.
at Pride Line saying, let's talk about this. Let's walk through this. How can we support you?
Absolutely.
How can we, like, connect you to the right resources for Pride Lines to make this work for your
And you want that
community?
relationship to
Like,
continue.
it's amazing.
Yeah, right.
But it's amazing the response that they have been, how responsive they've been to the
Right.
LGBT community.
Right.
Knowing our vulnerable status here in a state like Florida, they have been so responsive. And I will say, you know, Secretary Becerra came down, you know, for Health and Human Services
Right.
back in June, and his office as well, still very, like, I can literally pick up the phone and call people from Harris's office, her
Yeah.
government office, not her campaign, and Bashira's office
Right.
to talk about issues
Oh,
in
yeah.
our community.
Yeah.
That's the air that we have because they're concerned. They're genuine. I could say this.
They care.
The administration is genuinely concerned about our community.
Do you hear what
Well,
he just
you know,
said?
yeah.
To your point,
Voters?
Paul,
Yeah.
to your point,
Yeah.
like to our LGBT community, if you're not paying attention, pay attention.
Yeah.
You better vote.
Right.
You better
You
vote.
better vote. 'Cause
Vote.
we're out here fighting like crazy, but like
We need everything.
it can get bad. Oh, we need every single
need
vote.
everyone.
We need every single vote.
What's up next?
All
Brian?
right, next, let's queer up students and youth culture. Trump claims that school education is, quote, mostly transgender these days. Former U.S. President and current Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has once again made controversial and unverified claims about the U.S. education system, pushing a right-wing anti-transgender narrative. His latest remarks this week, made during an interview with former advisor Kellyanne Conway on her Fox News show, Here's the Deal with Kellyanne Conway, have sparked widespread criticism, according to Huffington Post. Trump said, and I quote, "We want reading, writing, and arithmetic. Right now, you have mostly transgender. Everything's transgender. Some of these school programs, I looked at it the other night. They're destroying our country," end quote. It remains unclear what specific school programs Trump was referring to or what he believes these alleged transgender curriculums entail. This is not the first time Trump has made incendiary claims about transgender individuals in schools. In September, during a Moms for Liberty event, he falsely claimed that students are undergoing gender-affirming surgeries during school hours. Trump's statements have been thoroughly debunked by medical professionals and educators, who emphasize that schools do not perform any type of gender-affirming surgeries. In fact, many schools struggle to afford basic supplies like textbooks, let alone complex medical equipment. Even Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice admitted that Trump's claims were false, though she defended him for raising the issue of social transition in schools. Well, this is not the first time we've had a huge discrepancy in what he talks about. But, you know, I look at it this way. I'm in school currently, and I think we need to start seeing any quotes that are given. And I'd like to see in an APA 7th edition format some citations. And if he can make sure they are scholarly approved, you know, or peer-reviewed articles, that would be great. But until then, I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? Even Moms for Linoleum co-founder Tiffany Justice admitted that Trump's claims are false. You know it's serious when one demented STI cesspool calls out another demented STI cesspool.
Yeah. No, I can't agree more. I think, you know, this is a divisive issue, right? It's meant to divide our country. You know, he's trying to win this election, and he'll use anyone at any cost. And it's a shame. It's a shame that, you know, that he's picking something like transgendered youth, right? Or individuals who, you know, who are questioning their gender identity. And it's hurtful. It's very, very hurtful. And shame on the conservative movement, who is supposed to be about protecting people, right? And, you know, and protecting safety of our country. And yet they're doing the exact opposite. There are these interesting IG videos out there now where, you know, parents are like talking to their young son and saying, hey, go to school, be safe or whatever. And then the son comes back and he's a trans youth, and like he's a transgender female then, right? But these IGs are meant to mimic, like Trump, and saying that excuse my French, this is not happening. Like, what are you doing? You
Like
know?
I said, he can barely afford books.
Right.
Listen, it
Perform
sounded
surgery.
right. It sounded so interesting to me. He's like, "There's all this transgender school," and I'm thinking, I want to go to that school. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what this is, but it sounds pretty interesting to me. Listen, this guy The fact that they allow this guy to say the things that he says, no one else in this country would be able to say things like that, right? That dangerous, that hurtful. We talk about suicide in our community. We talk about all these things. For him to be so flippant, right? But we also know that this is his MO. Why? To control his base. The sad part to me is those dummies that listen to him, they start getting on Facebook going, you see, they're like doing surgery in school. It's like, how, what?
They don't question.
Pretty frightening, which is why the rest of you have to go out and vote, because otherwise those people will be in charge of your life.
You know, Paul, you said something that's pretty interesting. Paul, the fact that, you mentioned suicide and that this is a real issue.
This is very real.
It's a real issue. And, the Trevor, Project is one amazing organization who deals with a lot of young people who are, considering and contemplating suicide. But even here in South Florida, I know, talking to some partners here that do this work, we've seen a lot of individuals, young people coming in, talking about this issue, so I think it's really, really important. These issues are real to our community, and we need people to get out and vote. So registration closes Monday, October 7th. So if you're not registered, please register. Like
Clock is ticking.
this election's really critical for our community.
Register.
And to all you new gay people who just moved here from New York and Chicago and other places,
they don't need your vote.
Get
We need it
registered here.
And just go to the Save website and vote for those people. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to know about it. You don't have time for all of that. Just pull up save.org. They have a whole list of endorsements. All those people have been vetted. They're safe for our community. And you vote. You have to vote.
This is a consequential election. We need you to vote.
Yeah.
Paul, what's up next?
So next we're going to queer up South Florida and Florida. Homonormativity, the quiet force dividing the Wilton Manors LGBTQ community. Homonormativity, a rarely discussed term outside of academic circles, is a silent but pervasive force that shapes queer life, causing division within the LGBTQ community. In essence, it's the set of social norms that prioritize certain identities and behaviors, making some queer people more acceptable than others. It's the mindset that white, cisgender gay men often dominate queer representation on TV, while trans lives and issues affecting people of color are sidelined. It's the notion that some queer people mimic heterosexual norms, like getting married, adopting children, and living in suburban neighborhoods, while other forms of queer expression remain marginalized. At its core, homonormativity creates a hierarchy within the queer community, dictating that masculinity in men and femininity in women are ideals to be pursued. This has real consequences. It is an issue that is frequently discussed in an LGBTQ-dominated community like Wilton Manors. This phenomenon has been written about by Buffy Flores in Out Magazine, saying, quote, "Homonormativity made same-sex marriage priority number one, when trans people still can't use bathrooms safely," end quote. The effects of homonormativity are not just limited to personal relationships and social dynamics. They seep into politics and public policy. Legislation targeting trans people, such as laws forcing them to use bathrooms corresponding to their assigned gender at birth, is a result of harmful norms. Unfortunately, we can still witness homonormativity and trans hatred in South Florida, and even in one of the gayest places on planet Earth, Wilton Manors. Credit goes to the spread of misinformation by right-wing communities and political parties. How can we miss the policies passed by the governor of the state, Ron DeSantis? We consider homonormativity in our own community. In a city that is so strong for LGBTQ people, are we overwhelmingly represented by cis white men? If that is true, where is a significant percentage of women, of people of color, of the trans community? You know, this is very, very interesting subject. And when it comes to inclusion and when it comes to talking to people outside of our community, we fall into this trap very often. I know when I look at public health needs assessments, we have a ton of information on LGBTQ community. It's all geared to white cis men. And so we don't have any information for 30 years on anyone else in the community except for white cis men. And so it becomes very dangerous when it comes to public policy, when it comes to resources being handed out. There's no data there to say, I need the money, give me the money, this is why, right? But it's even more damaging to the other individuals who want to live their full self and still don't feel included within their own community. It gets confusing. When you talk about people who are at risk of suicide, when you talk about people who feel like they're being marginalized out of pride. I've had people tell me, I don't see myself here. I don't feel like I can be myself here. And, you know, we have to be very, very aware when we're marketing for different events, when we're having conversations, that we're not going, everything is okay because it's okay for a certain part of our community. We have to always, always, always take into account the least of us, the people most at risk, and make sure that if we're taking care of them, then everybody else is automatically going to be fine. And that's the way that I see us dealing with this idea of homonormativity. This is from the 70s. If you remember, what's her name? The trans woman from Stonewall.
Marsha?
Not Marsha.
Oh, Sylvia Rivera?
Right, Sylvia Rivera.
Right.
She was yelling and screaming on the microphone going, I started this for you guys. I got you free, and now you tell me I can't even be here. Like, this is not a new concept. It's been something going on in our community for a long time. But now if we're going to put names to it and we're going to actually like talk about these issues, then we got to make sure we're addressing them. We're not just talking them. Because people within the community get hurt behind it.
How do you feel about the context of Wilton Manors, right? So this story talks about Wilton Manors in particular, right? So how do you feel about, you know?
I don't know the community that well. Like, I don't live, you live here, right? Is it a mixed community?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you're in Miami, which also has a sizable, Miami Beach, has a sizable community. Do you mind my asking? But from your perspective, are you seeing the same thing in Miami?
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, when you go to the organizations, it's cis white gay men that are in charge of all the organizations. The organizations that are not led, the organizations that and you're new here, but the organizations that are not led by them, they often struggle to get resources. They often struggle to get the funds. They're not on the boards of the R Fund. They're not on the boards of the
So why isn't more noise being made though?
Well, I think this is helping. I think that the marginalized community has been saying it forever. It's just
so
who's
how do you
listening,
get them
right?
to pay attention?
That's why inclusion is really, really important, right? When you have other people sitting on those boards who are helping make the decision about where the money goes, about which organizations get the funding, about which organizations get the support that they need, all of a sudden we can make substantive change. But if everyone in those decision-making places is a cis white gay male, it's going to be hard to understand somebody else's experience outside of that. This is why inclusion is really, really so important. I don't expect them to understand it. Just put people at the table that understand so that we can start to address it.
And have a conversation.
Absolutely. But I think this is about the collective power, collective will, and also the role that leaders like myself have of like making sure that we help to mentor and bring others along, right? I fundamentally believe that that's how we make the changes, right? I'm at the table, so I'm going to bring along my brother and sister over there, right? I'm not going to just be the only one at the table. I'm like, ooh, I'm the token, thank God. So it's incumbent upon us who are at the table, who are in these conversations to say, wait a minute, I don't want to be the only one. Let's bring more people in to the table. And for me, like when I look at Pride Lines, right, I make sure in our hiring practices that we have a diverse community, right? That we're representative of the community here and that we're not just a community of men, right? Gay men, right?
Right, but we have to remember, we have to always remember that people in marginalized communities can't change racism. That is the responsibility of the white community.
Yes, for sure.
You cause racism, you have to fix racism. We can't fix that for you. That's on you to have those conversations to go, we got to change it, we got to do it differently. You and I can sit at the table and fight for what we can fight for, but we can't change that, right? Those discussions have to be had and they have to be addressed, right? Homonormativity, I think also because outside of our community, it's policymakers in Tallahassee are much more comfortable when a straight actor, I know myself, I come in, they don't even know that because of the way I present,
Right.
that's not what they're very comfortable to invite me into the office as opposed to someone else who may make them feel uncomfortable just by their presence, right? So there's a lot that we have to wade through. But having this conversation, I'm really, really glad that we're having this conversation, especially for our community, because we have to lead it, right? We can't expect people from outside the community to understand it until we start addressing it.
But to your point, though, if we, Vaughn, you should go next. If we don't push and hold people accountable, they won't change. So I think it is up to us as well, right?
To say
they have
something,
power, but
say something.
But if we're at the table, we have probably just as much power, you know, right? And so it's up to us to push the conversation as well. I know I've been around people and in circles where, guess what? That one person likes being a token. They like it. They don't want to bring nobody
They don't
along.
speak up?
And so no, I've been at the table. I'm like, what? Like, bro, like, really? You're not going to bring the rest of us along with you? And they like that place of privilege. So it really is incumbent upon us to be there, to speak up, and to hold them accountable. You know. Well,
I think, I moved here 6 years ago and I joined the Broward County HIV Health Services Planning Council. And I was the chair for the Community Empowerment Committee. And interesting thing that I thought was interesting was we had our very first community event when I was chair, and we actually held it at Ariana Center because we were inquiring as to why we didn't have a lot of transgender individuals accessing care and what maybe we weren't doing in Ryan White. And we had that meeting, and I still love them to this day, but they read us for filth. And I'm glad they did because I was able to sit back and go, this is the part where I'm talking about. You have to get people around the table. And now today we do. We have transgender women around the table at the Planning Council. And I think when you talk about Wilton Manors and we talk about our community, and you're right, we have to advocate to have, if you're going to be in a room talking about a certain race or whatever category you want to talk about, if they're not there representing, keep your mouth shut until
Everybody
they are.
has to be present.
Make sure they're there.
That's right.
And if you don't vote on somebody's behalf, if they're not even being represented at the table.
That's
we see that. And we also see people who all they want to do is be on a board of directors to put it on their resume. They're not doing the work. They just want to put it on their resume. And it's not really doing anybody any good.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Next, let's queer up entertainment. Sean Combs arrested on sex trafficking charges as over 100 lawsuits are filed, including men. Sean Combs, also known as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and Daddy, was arrested last month in New York City on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Following his arrest, a wave of lawsuits is expected from 120 new victims, both men and women, alleging sex crimes against Combs dating back to 1991. Some of the accusers were minors at the time of the incidents, with allegations including drugging and rape. Tony Busby, the attorney representing the new accusers, indicate that companies and individuals aware of Combs' alleged misconduct may also be named in the lawsuits. Potentially implicit entities include Bad Boy Entertainment, Universal Music Group, and Epic Records, all of which have been associated with Combs. There are speculations regarding the involvement of other celebrities. After pleading not guilty, Combs was initially held in solitary confinement at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. As of September 29th, reports indicate that he is no longer on suicide watch and has been visited by family members. With these serious allegations, Combs is expected to face multiple legal challenges in the coming months and years. Charges coming from both women and men have led to widespread speculation on Combs' sexuality. This story is still developing, and we will keep you updated with new developments. Oh, man. P. Diddy. I think that there's always been rumors in particular about his sexuality and the fact that he was probably fluid for many, many, many years. I think I'm looking forward to really learning more about these allegations and really hearing the stories. I know that there was that one famous video of him abusing his ex-girlfriend at the hotel that was really dangerous. But I really want to learn more. I really don't have many comments on this because I don't have all the information here. There's a lot of questions that I have, to be honest with you, and I probably, people will probably hate me for some of these questions, but I really need to know more, and the fact that there are so many of these people from 1991, who are they, right? Why didn't they speak up sooner? Did he really have, something over their head that held them from not speaking up? I just really need to know more information. It just amazes me that there's 120 people who have experienced this, and I don't know. I want to know more.
Well, about 25 years ago, I did an interview with a musical duo, this identical twin brothers. And I remember them sort of conspiratorially sharing a story about Combs at the very least being bisexual. So in a way, I'm not surprised about the recent allegations, but like you said, what took it so long? And all these people, all these years that it's been going on.
I really think we have to be incredibly careful about this story. I think when too many of the headlines are about his sexuality, that's not against the law. The first headlines that were out were about how much lube was in the house. That's not against the law. We in our community have to be very, very careful about how we let the media talk about this story for two really important reasons. One, they can easily, especially in a state like Florida, start to try to criminalize our normal behavior. These things are not against the law to have. They shouldn't be part of the story. The other thing is, if there are real victims, do you know how hard it is to get a victim to speak up? If you're writing a headline about the lube and about somebody being fluid and you're not protecting the victim and you're not giving them any respect and you're not treating any of that seriously and you're just going after the gossip, that's 120 more people who are getting abused right now going, I don't want any of that to come out about me. There's no way. And they stay in that abusive situation. The media needs to be really, really responsible about how they cover this story. If there are real victims out there, they need to be treated like victims. And if there were crimes committed, they need to be treated like there were crimes committed. And this should not be about lube. It should not be about whether he's bi.
Sexuality.
It should not be about any of that stuff ever. And they better get it together, because it's only going to make this whole situation a lot worse if they're just going for the quick clickbait to get more clicks, but then 10 more people continue to stay in abusive situations.
That's to your point. Where's the justice for the people, right?
That's what it should be about.
We
should be protecting the victim. That's right.
The minors, right.
And the minors.
We should be protecting all of them. And I don't care how much lube was in the man's house.
Who cares?
That's not against the law.
And who cares if he had sex bar? Who cares?
Who cares if 100 grown consenting adults are in there having sex every night? That's not against the law. If there's a victim of a crime, they need to be treating it as such.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about that whole thing.
Next, we're going to queer up entertainment. LGBTQ stars shine on the 2024 Time 100 Next list. The 2024 Time 100 Next list has arrived, celebrating influential leaders and creatives, including LGBTQ icons such as Alice Oseman and Richard Gadd. Now, in its 5th year, this annual honor recognizes the diverse talents shaping today's cultural landscape. Alice Oseman, celebrated for her hit series, Heartstopper, shines in the Artists category, with Season 3 eagerly anticipated. Renee Rapp, a 24-year-old lesbian singer-songwriter and actress, makes waves in the Phenoms category, continuing her ascent in the industry. Richard Gadd, recognized as an innovator, gained acclaim for his impactful 2024 drama Baby Reindeer, solidifying his presence in the entertainment world. Victoria Monet, another standout in the artist category, exemplifies the blossoming talent within the queer community. The Time 100 Next list highlights that influence today transcends traditional boundaries, with a significant number of leaders being women and individuals of color. As the recognition continues, these trailblazers not only inspire future generations, but also foster a more inclusive and diverse narrative in the arts and beyond. Well, in addition to some of those really high-profile folks, Alice Oseman and Renee Rapp, who, by the way, people may know her from the movie musical of Mean Girls, Richard Gadd, Victoria Monet. The Time 100 includes other queer folks, such as designer Brandon Blackwood, Cole Escola, who's doing, what's it called? Oh Mary on Broadway right now. Callie Reese, Flaifa Kayoka Shadland, and Kayla Parker. The inclusion of these individuals on the list was enough to encourage me to renew my Time subscription.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, I love the diversity. I love the diversity. I
Amazing,
love the
for
fact that
sure.
we're included. You know, we're at the table there. The list is amazing, and I like just seeing the image on the screen with all the covers
Yeah.
of diverse people. Like, it's amazing. It makes me want to get a subscription.
It's worth it.
Yeah, and I haven't had one in years.
On Time Magazine, and that, because it's Time Magazine,
Mm-hmm.
it also gets in front of in front of the face of the person in Idaho or wherever
That's right.
out
You're
there
right.
in the
Yeah,
heartland
that's right.
that may not have exposure to the community, that now they're on the cover of the
But it's not like it's The Advocate or Out. This is a national,
right, exactly,
mainstream publication.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
What
So
an
that-
inspiration to our youth too, to see that their work, what has transpired, and they're being aware, and they may not even know who these individuals are,
Right.
and then to know that
don't.
they can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
To see themselves.
Right.
Right. It's so important. Representation matters, and that's so
Absolutely.
important.
Absolutely.
Cool. Next, let's queer up travel. Visit Lauderdale's Picnic in the Park on January 19th. Visit Lauderdale brings to you a picnic in the park presented by Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. The event will mark the end of the Food and Wine Festival on January 19, 2025 at Las Olas Oceanside Park. This free event offers curated food trucks, cooking demos by celebrity chefs, hands-on culinary classes for all ages, live entertainment, and local artisan vendors. Bring your family, chairs, and blankets for a fun-filled day. The Teddy Bear Clinic will also be available for kids. More hands-on culinary classes will be announced soon. Don't miss out on this unique family culinary experience. For more information, visit lauderdale.com. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out Television Studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. We finished tonight's queer news headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up politics. Right-wing pundit claims gay men love J.D. Vance and hence will vote Trump. A right-wing writer for the Daily Caller claimed that gay men are swooning over Senator J.D. Vance after his week's vice presidential debate appearance. Gage Clipper's article, titled Vance's Baby Blues May Have Just Flipped the Left's Most Loyal Demo, says gay conservatives on social media, fell in love with Vance's new look. Clipper described Vance as having Mykonos blue eyes and chiseled jawline. Clipper has a history of anti-LGBTQ views, often vilifying the community in previous editorials. Critics argue that while some may admire Vance's appearance, his extremist politics are likely to alienate voters. Well, I mean, you got to have a good contour stick, and it can do amazing, and eyeliner. It can do amazing things, right? For blue eyes, especially.
Yeah, I'm thinking how insulting of this guy to even write that, right?
Yeah.
That we're such a shallow community that despite all the anti-gay legislation, we're going to vote for him because of the color of his eyes. Whoever that wrote that article, I can't say the words I would want to.
Well, because a used up piece of trailer park flotsam would have insight into the workings of the gay brain. And by the way, that beard is to cover the fact that he's a chinless fuck. And that's what he's got. That's why he got that beard. Sorry.
Well said, Greg. No comment.
LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's queer up gay culture. Here's what only tops will understand. One of our commitments at Queer News Tonight is to embrace gay culture, and that includes sex. In the realm of intimate experiences, tops face unique challenges and joys that bottoms might never fully grasp. At Reddit, thousands of gay men weighed in on the differences between tops and bottoms. Here are the issues that resonate with tops on gay Reddit. They include the struggle to keep condoms in place during sex, penis sizes debates, navigating the rare but confusing top versus top dilemma, breaking stereotypes about appearance and role, ejaculation confusion, erection frustrations, the disappointment when your partner's too tight. Other topics include sudden, fleeting urges to bottom, debating whether to pop the pill, and extensive comments on toe cramps. Tops, you know the struggles. Gay Reddit is truly where gay culture is being explored. I'll tell you, it all sounds very real to me. And maybe I should probably just leave it at that. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? That toe cramp especially, that's real.
It was like a Reddit bedtime story. What?
I hope they're doing the flip side for the bottoms, because I'd like to hear that side too.
I think everybody hears the side from the
Wait a minute.
Stay tuned to Monday's Queer News. LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up politics. VP debate ignites eyeliner rumors about JD Vance. The vice presidential debate tackled key issues like Iran's nuclear program, climate change, and immigration. But an unexpected topic stole the spotlight. Was JD Vance wearing eyeliner? The debate between Democratic candidate Tim Walz and Republican JD Vance sparked an online frenzy, not just about politics, but also about the Ohio senator's alleged makeup routine. Social media users couldn't help but notice Vance's striking ice blue eyes and dark smolder, leading to speculation about his use of eyeliner. Even famous photojournalist Zach Roberts chimed in, saying, quote, "I photographed him last week. Vance 100% does wear eyeliner," end quote. Needless to say, the internet is flooded with memes on this topic. Oh, JD, that's it. Drag to eyeliner, what can we say?
It's not a long journey. I hope it's waterproof, because he does look like a hillbilly crybaby.
I hope that all the people that are concerned about his eyeliner are registered to vote.
Absolutely.
Because, there's way too much at stake. And if they're spending that much effort on eyeliner, they should be able to figure out where their early voting station is and make sure that they're voting.
LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Remembering Hollywood star Rock Hudson, 39 years since his unfortunate death due to AIDS. This week, we marked 39 years since Rock Hudson, Hollywood's closeted heartthrob, passed away from AIDS-related complications. On October 2nd, 1985, Hudson's death spotlighted the devastation AIDS was causing within the LGBTQ community. After battling health issues for months, his HIV diagnosis was publicly confirmed just 3 months before his death, shaking Hollywood and the world. Famed for his dashing looks and talent, Hudson was forced to hide his sexuality throughout his career while dealing with rumors about the subject. His passing was a watershed moment in raising awareness about AIDS. Hudson's legacy endures as a symbol of the hidden struggles of queer figures during a time of stigma and fear. This is what happens when you're old. I mean, I remember this story. This is one of those stories like 9/11 and January 6th that has just stayed with me for years. I remember where I was and who I was with when I heard the news. I was with my housemate Susan in the living room of the house I was living in DC. And as a gay young man, it was such a significant moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Reading it just brought me right back to 1985 in New York City. I remember back then he used to go to the bars. Everybody knew. People would say Rock is going to be at the bar, but he's not looking good. And there was all of this talk. And then I remember the day when he passed away. And for those of us that were around in the 80s, right? Everybody was passing away. And there was this thought that like, well, if anybody can beat this, it's the Hollywood star who's got access to all this
And
stuff.
money, yeah.
Right. And so when he died, it was like, okay, this is like, we don't have a chance, right? It's really, really sad. What a milestone.
Yeah. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. Liza Minnelli. No, I'm not going to imitate her. To produce Drag Race Stars musical, Hollywood legend Liza Minnelli is making a grand return, this time as a producer for Drag the Musical. The musical will star Drag Race All-Stars 2 winner Alaska, who is also co-writing it. The show follows 2 rival drag houses in a fabulous fierce battle for supremacy. Minnelli, a 4-time Tony winner, praises Drag the Musical as brilliant. The off-Broadway cast includes Drag Race icons like Jujubee, Lux Noir, London, and Jane Sport, alongside Pose's Eddie Corbick and Rent Live J's Elaine Marcos. Fans eagerly await the iconic queen's next step into theater magic. I can't wait. I mean, come on. How can you not love Liza? Come on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Couldn't pick anybody better.
Well,
to kind of do that, I'm kind of happy too that she's up and working like that.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
mean, I didn't know that
and
she
she's
was.
what, 30? Right?
That's what I mean. I didn't know she
It's
was
amazing.
still able to do that. That's a lot. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot.
That's a lot of
Being a
work.
producer?
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
Time, yeah.
That's a lot of work.
Mama would be so
Good for
proud.
I know. Good for Liza. Yeah. She's hung in
that.
there. She's hung in there with us forever.
Yes, we love
Forever.
it. That, of course, is today's news for the queer community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I am your anchor, Dr. Edward Summers. On behalf of these LGBTQ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Paul Thomas, Greg Shapiro, and Vaughn Biggs. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. We remind you the presidential election is just 32 days away. Stand up for equality, rights, and representation. Make sure you're registered and ready to cast your ballot. Let's make history. Let's vote for a better future.
Good night.
Good night. Vote.